Hello and welcome to the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. This is for July 30th, 2024, episode 244. Stand-up comedian, actor, and improviser Paul Green coming to you with my podcast by a dreamer for all you dreamers out there. Or even if you don't have a dream, but you just like listening to a, delusional nut bar. As he tries to pursue his. So, let's get a quick update on where I'm at. So, yesterday I was in Las Vegas and then headed back to Phoenix after having a fairly disappointing show Monday night in Las Vegas, as I have already talked about. But, that will just happen sometimes, and I was talking to my mentor, Andrew Norelli, about it, and he says, you know that you're a professional when, how did he word it? When you can do bad shows well. And, I think there's some validity to that. Just sometimes you'll find yourself in just a bad show, bad audience, bad circumstance. He said this happens all the times with corporate gigs, which I can definitely attest. Happens all the times with corporate gigs as well. And when you can learn to just be in that situation and just deliver your material with as much grace as you can and just understand that, like, hey, you want to know what? This is just not going to be a good experience for everyone, but I'm here and going to do the best I can. And then move on to the next. So that is what I am doing in that regard. So once I got home, a couple things happened. I went and played basketball last night, and I did something to my lower calf muscle. I either just straight up pulled it, or it just completely cramped on me. All I know is today I can barely walk. All the joys of being 43 years old and still trying to play a sport that is meant for 20-year-olds. And, it was very brutal. I mean, I'm over-dramatizing. It's just incredibly sore and hurts to walk on. So that was fun. So I have been I signed up for one of those group fitness classes about 2 months ago, and I have been going very regularly and had a good routine going. And now I'm a little upset because I don't know how much this sore, stretched and or pulled or cramped muscle is going to set me back on my fitness goals. But, just like that bad show, sometimes you're not in tip-top shape and you just got to keep moving forward. So, how's that for an analogy? Now, there is one other turning point that I had last night. And okay, this is a little vulnerable to talk about, but I'm going to do it because that's what this podcast is all about. It's me just being as transparent as I can about me going for my dreams and the setbacks and the struggles and the challenges. So, I have, throughout my life, loved playing a good video game from here every now and again. And usually how it works is there's like a few video game franchises that I just love. And anytime the next version of that franchise comes out, I like to buy the game. I play through it. I do everything that I want to get done with it. And then I just sort of beat it, or like once the game, I've beaten the game, or I've done all of the additional side quests, or like whatever it is, then I'm just done with the game. I hang it up And then I won't play another video game for a year or so until whatever the next thing that comes out is. So a couple months ago, one of my favorite video games came out with the latest version of it. And I got it. And I have been playing it. Now, what is incredibly embarrassing and depressing is this video game actually has a time counter, and it just counts how long you've been playing the game. And that has really messed with my psyche, because I'm literally looking at how much of my life this game has taken from me. And then my mind starts to play all of these, math games. It's like, oh, well, what if all of the time that I had just spent pushing, buttons that make imaginary ones turns into zeros and zeros turn into one, but that to me makes it, gives me the delusion that I am accomplishing something, but really all it's doing is just this highly trained dopamine release mechanism. I mean, that's all it is. It's just like, oh, I push a button, and then that button makes this animation on a screen swing a sword at some other animation of some sort of beast, and then that beast has a certain amount of hit points, and then my sword hits it, and then there's just this math that happens as I start to reduce this completely fabricated simulation, and it releases dopamine in my brain and tricks me into thinking that I'm accomplishing something in life. And it's like, I know all that intellectually, but, it's addictive. So I give myself some grace there. But anyway, I started to just realize that, like, okay, I have put way too much time in this game. And if I'm actually going to claim to be a dreamer and going for big dreams, I need to be far more dedicated in putting time into my dream than this damn simulation. So I made a promise to myself that once I had accomplished this one thing in the game, I say accomplished very loosely, that I would be done with it. And then what I was going to do was I was going to look at the timer. How much time did I spend into this game? And my goal would be to then start a running timer on writing comedy. And anytime I wrote comedy, I would start the timer. Just like every time I logged into the video game and started playing, that video game timer just started tracking. It's like, well, I'm going to do that same thing with my writing. And my commitment to myself is I am going to write for at least as many hours as I played that video game before I ever even look at a video game again. And that's assuming that there's even a video game out that I want to play. Like, I don't really go and seek out video games. Again, there's just a couple of franchises that every time the next installment comes out, I just love those games. I love those franchises. So there's a good possibility. And by the way, it's, those games come out like every couple of years. The last iteration I played of this game was during the pandemic. One of them came out. So I played one in 2020, and then I've played one in 2024. So anyway, I'm not even comfortable sharing how many hours it is because it's embarrassing. Whatever number you're thinking of, it was about that and maybe more. So I now have a goal. And by the way, I mean, I've been playing this game for like 6 months. So, it's going to take me a while to match that, the hours when it comes to writing. But even today, right? So I sort of have this instinct. It's like, oh, I'm done with all my work. Oh, I've got a little break here. I'm going to fire up the old video game and start playing. But now I have taken the control of my video game, and instead of the control being on my nightstand, my notebook is there. So now, anytime I have that sort of addictive impulse to be like, oh, I want to turn ones into zeros right now, my notebook will be there, and then be like, oh, cool, I'm just going to write instead. Start the timer on my writing and replace my video game addictive tendency with a writing addiction tendency. And I really think that is going to be what is necessary for me to get over this hump, because I've been in this slump for about the last month. I don't feel like anything that I'm writing I like a whole lot. And quite frankly, I think, this video game has just sort of turned my mind into mush, because that's what video games do. And, if you've done any studying on dopamine and dopamine addiction, and anybody who has any sort of, dopamine, whatever it is, I mean, there's so many addictive behaviors that trigger dopamine, whether it's porn or TV or video games or gambling or, all of the drugs and alcohol, all of the substances. It really all sort of boils down to the same addictive tendency, which is just to hit that little dopamine feeder button in the old brain to keep that little happy juice, flowing in the old bloodstream there. But of course, as we know, the more that you get the dopamine enhancement from addiction, then, the less sensitive it, the more that you have to engage in the addiction to get the same sort of amount of, thrill or pleasure or whatever that. We've all read up on that, I would assume. If you haven't, now's a good opportunity to study dopamine and any sort of addictive behavior that triggers dopamine. And it really just does turn your brain into mush. So even last night, I went and did some writing, and I was just like, turn off the cell phone, turn off the social media, and just focus on writing. And it felt like I wrote for a long time. Now, again, I'm timing myself, but when I actually got done and I looked at the timer, it was like 35 minutes. And I'm going, my gosh, my concentration is so off right now. My brain is just so used to being constantly thrown, stimulation through staring at a video game screen for, hours on end. So anyway, so that is going to be my next opportunity moving forward here. I suspect I'll probably get close to my goal maybe not even by the end of the year. I actually haven't really done the math and broken down how many hours total I want to reach and what that'll look like in terms of like how many hours a week and all that stuff. I'll probably do that next. But I don't really have a date by which I want to get to that number of hours. It's really just, hey, as soon as I get to that number of hours, then I can look at, if another video game franchise has come out that I want to play, then I may allow myself the reward of doing so. But for now, I've got to fill some notebooks with some comedy, my friends, because what I have been doing the last month or so has just not been producing any sort of result that I'm happy with in terms of comedic output. So there you go. So that's the update. Now, I know that I have been, as part of the podcast, commentating on the 48 Laws of Power. However, I did not listen to a chapter last night, so I am not going to report on a Law of Power for today, but I will definitely do that tomorrow. So for now, I have an injured leg. I have a completely desensitized dopamine release mechanism in my brain head. And I am officially done. So yesterday I did the last thing that I want to do in that video game, and then I just turned it off, and I just said, okay, it just finished. I will never play that video game again. And that's usually how it goes with those games. When I am done, I am officially done. I'm going to be a little bit more dramatic on this one. I'm actually going to unplug my video game system and put it in the closet. I haven't done that yet, but I will. And so, injured calf, new writing goals, no more video games. So that is the update for today and the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. Later today, I will be meeting up with my comedy partner, the one and only Josh Novi, and we are going to start scheduling out our year to put together a tour, which I am very excited about. And we will, we'll see how many of these shows that we can book and schedule and make be successful throughout the end of the year. We have 3 shows next week, and very much looking forward to those. But other than that, my friends, that is the update for today. So for all of you out there, I hope your dreams are going well. Whatever obstacles stand in your way, whatever addictive behaviors are keeping you from accomplishing what it is that you want, you have my encouragement to do what it takes to allocate the time necessary to accomplish what it is that is in your heart and that you are looking forward to and what brings meaning and fulfillment to your life. All right, everybody, go get those dreams. I love you all so much. This has been for the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast for July 30th, 2024, episode 244. I love you all so much, and I will talk to you tomorrow.